Hello, lovelies. I was just thinking about this, how I sit here and I'm like, oh, let's hit record. I've got something I want to say. And and this isn't always the case, by the way, right? Sometimes I have something, I write it down, and I'm like, I'm going to speak about this for sure. But how I'm enjoying the podcast now is I have decided that I want to speak on the podcast and I think about what I want to say and then I just record and say it. And I'm sharing this because in a world that has taught us to overplan and in a world where technology makes it also really easy to do so, I genuinely had the thought before I hit record, oh, I could go to AI and it could tell me what topic or what theme to speak about today. But instead, I was thinking about my life and my stories and what I've lived and experienced. And so, for anyone worried about AI, like there are definitely things that AI can do, and there are always going to be things that it can't. And for me, it's the stories, it's the learning by doing, it's the lived experience. And one of the things that I teach my clients and my coaches when they go on to create their own marketing, because now we have business elements in our certification where we help people with the business side too. And one of the things I'm always saying to them is like your lived experience, your application of the tools, the impact of it, what's on the other side. Um, AI can't do that. And I think we're starting to crave more of that. And actually, um, I think that that's how we connect as humans. So there's my rant before what I speak about, which my brain is like, what were we speaking about again? Because I didn't even write it down. Um, but I do have something actually, and maybe this is the bigger thing because um my son is about to turn 4 and he has what we call big feelings. He has big, so what did he say to me? Because he repeats what I said to him, but he says it's so much cuter. Sometimes we have big emotions. Yeah, sometimes we have big emotions, and we want to learn that we don't have to hit or kick from those emotions, but we can have big emotions. Everybody has big emotions. So I guess what we're going to talk about today is big emotions. Um, and I'm going to share with you what I did with him not because you need to have a kid to do this too, but because I knew how to do this with him because I do it with myself. And in a world where we've been taught that there are like good emotions and bad emotions and like morally superior and morally inferior emotions and right emotions and wrong emotions, um, it makes sense that we then want to prevent our kids or ourselves or our loved ones having negative, bad, or morally inferior emotional experiences. But my work has been for sure dropping those descriptors, dropping the description of good and bad emotions and dropping the attachment or the meaning, the conclusion that I reached if I had good or bad emotions and I am a good or bad person, or I am wrong or inappropriate or making a mistake, whatever that might be. And I just encourage you right now to check in with, even when I say bad emotion, what comes up for you? What is a bad emotion for you? Some of you might say like anger, frustration, resentment, rage, sadness, grief, jealousy. Like, what is a bad emotion? Anything else? Like, just let it come to you. Or maybe you've heard mine. You're like, oh yeah. And then what are good emotions, right? Happy, joy, calm, peaceful, loving, connected, whatever it might be. And even as I'm saying them, if you're watching this on the YouTube, you'll see my face literally smile when I'm saying they're good in air quotes emotions. So I literally have a different experience of them. Like it's so programmed into me that my face literally changed when I spoke about it. The reason why this has been so important and such important work for me and now is important work for my son, because guess what a lot of us do when it comes to our kids? There's so much advice online for kids that I'm like, this applies to adults too. They're like, kids need rest. I'm like, what do we reach a certain age and not need rest anymore? They're like, kids, need like comfort. I'm like, do we reach a certain age? And it's like, no, you don't need comfort anymore. I think a lot of us think that or have been raised that way or been socialized that way. And I'm just here to stand for the opposite. So I'm sharing about my conversation with my son today, but it's not about my son, it's about us. And it's definitely reflective of the work I've done on myself. And you don't have to listen to this and apply it to anyone but yourself. But also, maybe you want to. Um, my son has started saying poo poo. Now, I don't mind words. I don't think words make a bad person, but I also, when he's saying you are a poo poo, I'm also trying to teach him that there are consequences to that and that I don't want to play with someone who calls me a poo poo and he can call his friends poo poo. But for me, like if you call me a poo poo, I'm going to have 2 minutes where I'm not talking. Like not in a mean way, not in a nasty way, just like mummy wants 2 minutes quiet after that. And so we've been doing that this past week and he'll get sad when I don't speak. And I can just see this version of myself that's like, oh, I don't want him to be sad, so I'll just speak. And then it like removes the whole point, right? I'm not teaching him anything. So if I keep half teaching, half trying, he's going to get more confused and I might as well just not bother. And by the way, you might not have a problem with him, with your kids saying you're a poo-poo, and that's fine too. We all get to choose as parents. So there's no parenting advice here. This is never going to be a parenting advice podcast. I can promise you that. But what happened afterwards, what twice was he said, I'm sad. Or we would say it, and I said, okay, well, it's okay to be sad. Um, and I just said to him, it's okay to be sad. Do you still feel sad now? Yes, I feel sad now. And I think this is good for any of us. So you can think about a sticky emotion maybe that you have. And I'm going to invite you to lean into it together today. And he felt sad. And I said, okay, that's okay. So the first thing I did was give it permission to be there and give him permission and just like make it neutral. And not try and solve for it, get rid of it, not apply any kind of like, this is a bad experience for you and I want to save you from it. Literally, when you experience an emotion that traditionally has been told negative or you experience it as negative or you believe it's negative, the first thing that you get to do is accept it and say, okay, this is what I'm feeling right now, and that's okay. Um, the second thing that I then said to him was, how do you know you're feeling sad? Like, where do you feel it? Do you feel it in your shoulders or in your chest or in your tummy or in your toes? And he was able to tell me that he felt it around his chest and in his tummy. And I said, oh, that's so interesting, right? So I'm coming at it from this like interesting angle, this curious angle, not this judgment angle, not this rushing angle, not this trying to change his experience angle. And this is what we get to do for ourselves. Like, okay, so just where? How do I know I'm feeling sad? And oh, and we also said around his eyes a little bit. So he was feeling it around his eyes a little bit in his chest and his tummy. So for you, you get to be like, okay, how do I know I'm feeling angry? Where am I feeling it? Maybe it's like in the palm of your hands, they're like clenching. Maybe it's like in your shoulders, wherever it might be, just like where? Just curious, where is it? Normalize it, locate it. And then I asked him if it was just very basic questions, if it was still or moving, if it was fast or slow, if it was hot or cold. That was kind of it. And he could answer most of them, but not all of them. And that's okay too. We just want to give a little bit of focus to them. And that's what we did together. And like I let him sit with those questions. I wasn't rushing them. And I'm saying this because if you use these questions on yourself, you don't need to rush any part of it. Nothing's gone wrong if you feel feelings in certain parts of your body and they are fast or slow, loud or quiet, heavy or light, hot or cold, for example. Those might be the questions that you want to jot down. And then I said to him, like, is there anything the sadness wants to tell you? Or me, because he's a 3-year-old. And he said, yeah, said that I don't like it when you don't talk to me. So he was super clear. I was very impressed. He was super clear. He knew exactly why he felt sad, where he felt sad, and what it felt like. And this is where we want to get to for ourselves. We want to understand what we are feeling, how it is feeling, right? That's the like, how does it feel? Where we are feeling it, and what it's trying to tell us. Our feelings are intelligence, our self-intelligence, and they've always got a message for us. Now, again, right? Once I understand that the sadness is coming from what me not speaking to him, which is a consequence of a behavior that he's done, which is like me wanting to, I'm using that strategically to want him to learn something, not a consequence. How do I say it? Whatever. It's like been intentional, right? And I'm okay with him feeling sad, but I still want him to learn the lesson, right? I want him to learn that lesson that I don't like being spoken to that way, and I don't want to play with people that speak to me that way. And if he wasn't my son, I would not play with him at all. Then I can communicate with him and start this conversation, and we can do this with ourselves. Like, well, what happened before when we did that? And what if that made and what and how do you think that might make mummy feel? And so on and so forth. I'm able to have this conversation. Listen, it sounds really long. It probably lasted 3 minutes. But I really thought of myself, my past, connecting with my feelings, connecting with my body, connecting to the messages. And then I thought of you guys and just the simplicity. I think so often people come to me and say, like, well, I don't want to feel stressed. I don't want to feel anxious. I don't want to feel angry. I don't want to feel it. So I'm not going to do the thing, or I'm going to avoid the thing, or I'm going to blame it on someone else, or I'm going to, whatever it might be. And I really invite you to consider that, like, what if that is just the 4 steps of like, what am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? How does it feel? And what is it telling me? And that whole experience is neutral. Now, I say this as someone who's had panic attacks, anxiety attacks. Like, I understand there's a difference. Although this kind of thing has always really helped me there too. But what becomes possible when you aren't looking to avoid emotions? What are you able to do? What are you able to do more of? What do you do less of? Do you do less scrolling on social media? Do you do more, asking for help, having conversations that might be difficult? I'm thinking about, like when I was in a queue with my son in the airport, there were loads of people and he needed a wee, and I was like, I'm gonna have to ask everyone to let me in. And they did, and that was nice. But part of my brain was like, don't do it. They're gonna have thoughts, then you're gonna feel bad, like you're taking advantage of people, and whatever it was that was coming up, like shame, or you should have taken him on the toilet before. I was like, well, they're just feelings, and I'm happy to feel them. And my son doesn't need to have an accident because I'm not willing to feel those feelings, just to give like a really vivid example. So what becomes possible for you? And I invite you to pick one emotion, which, and it could be the stickiest one. I might go for the stickiest one, but it also doesn't have to be the stickiest one because I'd rather you did the thing than not. And you can do it after listening to this episode. You could press pause and do it right now and just really think about that emotion. So maybe think about anger. How do I know when I'm angry? Maybe there's like, okay, the first thing I identify is the spinning and the voices in my head, but what else happens? Do I feel hot? I feel hot when I get angry. Do I feel hot around my chest and my arms? My upper arms get hot and my chest. Does it feel heavy? Very like solid block. Is that what it feels like? Like really getting curious with like, I'm all in for feeling feelings. When you are all in for feeling feelings, you are just able to do the scarier things faster and stop falling for the procrastination traps. So that is my invitation for you today to pick an emotion. And it can be one that you intentionally connect with now, but also as the week goes on, if an emotion pops up where you're like, oh, I don't want to feel stressed. I don't want to feel anxious. I don't want to feel nervous. I don't want to feel afraid. I don't want to feel angry. I don't want to feel mad. I don't want to feel frustrated. Whatever it might be, pause and be like, oh, I know what to do. I've got a little exercise to do. It can take 3 minutes and just walk through this. And thank you for listening. And I will see you guys next time. All right.